and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and tonight I am joined on the East Coast by one Mr. Shea Foster. How you doing, Shea?
Good, Chad. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. This is going to be our first of many football-themed shows as we are in June. We are well under 100 days now to the first college football games in week 0. Probably under 100 to Wyoming's first game as well on the opening Thursday night. And so we're here to talk about football, and some more football because we don't get to talk about it much in the state of Wyoming. So we're glad to have this platform on here. Of course, we're live on X and we're live on YouTube. So join us in our discussion tonight.
Yeah, 83 days, Chad. We're 83 days away. Yeah.
Okay, that's not far.
No.
I'll be here very quickly.
Last year I listened to a Jay Savelle interview, and I think there were 70 days, and he goes, these guys don't realize how quickly 70 days comes, so we're not going to know how quickly 83 days comes either.
Very, very true. So let's get to, I guess, the first discussion point, long-term type of thing here, but the Mountain West and Pac saga continues, and we're hitting where the rubber has to meet the road, at least for the Pac. They are in mediation, these two sides, and I just read something that I haven't heard. Now, granted, I've kind of blocked most of this off because I don't really care anymore, but I guess they're under a gag order, so that's why we basically have heard nothing from either side.
Oh. It makes sense. I just don't know. I was honestly surprised when they finally made notice. And I don't know if they're just trying to force a hand, but
so some third party did the gag order too, from what I've read. So that's why you're not hearing anything from either side. But I guess the big news is over the weekend to face the deadline so they don't have to pay the fees, which is kind of funny in my opinion. If you're saying the fees are not legal, but you file your paperwork on time so the fees don't go up further, I don't know if that really helps your cause, but I understand that they have to do it. But the traitorous 5 have officially filed their paperwork and will be officially joining the Pac-12 in the summer of 2026.
With not a full conference.
Yes, still a school short. And so that is with the gag order. I just read a couple things. Who knows, right? It's all propaganda at this point. A couple people think that pretty much everything's done. They're just waiting on this mediation to figure out how much it's going to cost everybody in the end. The TV deal's done. They probably have their 8th school done by now. They're just waiting on what it's going to be financially for them to make such a move. So I guess your thoughts on that. Are we buying the idea that the 8th school is probably going to be Texas State?
I don't know. They remember when this first happened, they went to go to UTSA initially. Yes. And then I don't know how Oregon State and Washington State has a leg to stand on to think that they're better than everybody.
Yes, and we'll talk about that here.
They scorned UTSA based on facilities. And it comes down to people are, I guess, who would want Wyoming? Well, Wyoming draws fans regardless. Wyoming's a national brand. They draw eyes to TV.
Yes,
and I'm not saying it's a huge national brand, but now you're down to Texas State or New Mexico State. That's what the Pac-12's down to. And then Gloria is trying to make the move with Tarleton State, which I really like. It gets your Dallas-Fort Worth footprint. And people are like, well, who cares about if they were so good? Why didn't you schedule them? Well, they were D2 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They're just starting transition. They have big donors. It's the state of, it's Texas football. So I don't think Mountain West is done. And I think Gloria is.
I don't think either side is done. Yeah.
And I think the TV deal is going to be fine for both conferences, but a good TV deal for Colorado State and Pac-12 is a terrible TV deal for Oregon State and Washington State.
Yes. And that is where I think things are really going to get out of control because The big thing is people don't know, and this is why I don't think it will work. It's the reason why I guess the original WAC didn't work, because of BYU and Utah wanted more money. And that's what it's always going to come down to in the end. It's the reason why the Big 12 fell apart, is because Texas wanted their own set of rules. It's the reason why the Mountain West is falling apart, because we let Boise in. They got the sweetheart deal. But now what? Boise's now in a conference where Washington State and Oregon State have final veto power on everything. That's not going to
And Oregon State,
right? Do you agree?
and
I mean,
Oregon
that's not
State
gonna
is
end well.
shopping. No, and Oregon State started shopping for the ACC and Big 12.
Yeah. No, yeah, there were those rumors. Yeah. So I don't think Boise's going to put up long in a conference where two schools have absolute veto power over everything.
Yeah,
So
because they're the darling of the conference. Regardless, it doesn't matter if they're Mountain West or the Pac-12.
yeah, they're the biggest
They
national brand.
yeah, and it's like, all right, well, you tie yourself to to that. Good luck.
So yeah, so I think it's going to be good. In the end, the Mountain West, it sounds like we're going to get a bump in our TV deal. Sounds like the Pac will get a decent TV deal, but as you said, it's not going to be enough to save Oregon State and Washington State, especially with their financial troubles.
Washington State's $240 million in debt.
Yeah,
$240 million in debt.
that's crazy.
I can't wait till Ziegler has to fly to Moscow, Idaho to attend a football game in Washington State. I can't wait for that to happen.
It's going to be fun for him. So yeah, so basically the Pac has until the end of this month. It probably sooner than that, right? You don't want to get way down to the deadline. They probably have the next 2 to 3 weeks to get this mediation over, finalize their TV deal while adding a school. So it's going to be pretty interesting. But I think all in all, hey, if those other schools want to go, good luck. And then guess what? And when you want something, when all of you unanimously say, hey, we want to do X in this league, and Washington State or Oregon State say no, good. That's going to be pretty damn funny, in my opinion.
I don't think there's a war chest. I think that's why there's a gag order, and they went to mediation because everybody's like, they got this war chest. I said, both those schools are 9 figures deep in debt.
Yeah.
You think they got any money left? They don't, and
they spend a lot of it. So reportedly, who knows what's true these days? But reportedly, they have. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck to the schools. Kudos to Colorado State for keeping the border war alive.
Yeah, that's true.
Appreciate that. So, I guess that's the only thing Wyoming fans probably cared about, is keeping that alive, and so it's alive. Good luck to whoever. They're just going to be a group of 5 team and be left out of the playoffs anyway. So
it is, and so here we go. Speaking of that, to hit on the football TV schedule now, you'll see. Let's see if we can pull this up a little. The last home game. That's the biggest as we can go, which is fine. The last home game of Wyoming playing CSU in a border war that is a conference game will be October 25th of this year on CBS Sports. So as Shea, you were just talking about, when you look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games at home at night on national TV. And so again, if Wyoming wasn't a draw, like you said, then CBS Sports and Fox Sports wouldn't put us in these primetime slots year after year after year.
CBS loves Wyoming.
They do.
Loves Wyoming. So you get Utah at 8 p.m. So we'll think of from Eastern Standard Time, because that's where you're going to get your biggest viewership. Mm-hmm. If it's a good time for Eastern, then it's great for the rest of the country. It's just where all the population is. And you get Utah at a 6 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff in September.
It's pretty good.
It's amazing. So it's a primetime game. And this is why the Pac is like, well, we'll just go streaming. That's linear TV for Utah. That is linear TV. It's going to be on every sports bar in America. Every sports bar is going to be streaming that game. and you and I will probably just be on the Mountain West Network, which I don't think was a bad scheduling deal. Kudos to
No, yeah, it'll probably be like a noon
that.
or probably like a 2 p.m. kickoff. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
and even I mean every game, and then depending how the season goes, that Nevada game could be something
Yeah, that could be a
big.
night game as well.
And no, I just wish the back wasn't stuck to ESPN Plus, but it is what it is. I just don't know.
Yeah, that is a wild one. I don't understand why we are playing Akron on a Thursday when it's not even on TV, on real TV.
Right, when
Very
it
odd.
got
Very
brought
odd.
up, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be ESPN2." I thought it was gonna be ESPN2 when they said we're moving the game to Thursday.
Yeah.
And no games on Friday. And the border war, what, for the past 5 years, I think has been on a Friday,
Mm-hmm.
minus COVID. So I mean,
So
that's
a great
4.
schedule. As
Yeah,
I
it's
said, we
4
got you're
4
going
of
to
the
have
5
great
games.
weather for your probably right. Your UNI game should have good weather. Utah at night in early fall, and then early October for UNLV and San Jose State at night games as well. Should be
Yeah.
great.
Oh, it's gonna be really good. And I mean, granted, we don't know what's gonna happen with the Big 12 price schedule. That's why we're TBA on
I don't know. I know Big 12 is ESPN
our
and what else? Fox.
Yeah, so I guess this what it comes down to is, remember a couple of years ago, Wyoming pulled the upset. They moved Fresno versus Wyoming to national Fox.
Yes.
So if Wyoming and CU are starting off hot,
It
you
could be a
could see
national
that
Fox
big
game
noon. You could see a big noon kickoff
or a night game,
that
more than likely.
or a night game.
Yeah.
I mean that early in the season, they made kick off a big noon because there's not a lot of 4 weeks into the season. There's probably not a lot of big matchups anymore.
Yeah,
So
I'll do some research and see what else we're competing with out west, anyways, right, for that game. So that's who
yeah,
knows, right? So yeah, it's a great schedule. Again, especially for you East Coasters out there, it's all going to be on brand name networks. Except for obviously Hawaii, right? Will more than likely be Spectrum Hawaii.
Spectrum.
Yeah, which will be
They bring a lot
online.
of TV units. Yeah, they bring a lot of TV units,
But
or they bring a lot of TV money with that. So
yeah, but so I mean, 10 out of your 12 games are going to be on major network.
yeah,
So
it's so weird. One Fox game. Does Fox hate Wyoming, or does I wonder if CBS competes.
I think they
Like,
have
how
like
does that
first
TV
pick.
contract?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
That's the
CBS
question.
does.
I'd imagine CBS has first pick, but I'm not sure.
That would play into the.
That's a question we should ask somebody if they know. I know, right? In most leagues, you kind of know like what time slots and who has the pecking order when they get to pick this stuff. So I'm just guessing that CBS Sports does have the first right to pick what they want.
I mean, I like CBS. I like the announcers on both networks, but I really like the CBS Sport. CBS Sports always brings the same people to Laramie, and it's always a good call.
Oh yeah, yeah, they got good crews. They got Waltz who comes in a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to come on it for an interview, but the problem with him, he's hard to get a hold of because he does Major League Baseball.
And he's got a really busy schedule.
Yeah, so like I would like to love to get him in the summer to talk about it. So maybe we'll have to do it like after football season and after baseball season to see if we can get him on the show. I think that'd be.
You could probably get him. I would say get him before the Utah game.
Oh baby!
Remember, we learned a lot about old boy from Fox, where his little brother was named after Kurt Gowdy, and how much history that was for him. So it'd be cool to kind of listen to like why he likes coming to Laramie so much.
Yeah. So I haven't tried. I follow him. I think he even follows us. And but I'm like, oh yeah, I think, and I'm not sure. Last I knew he calls the Marlins or the Rays, one of those two. So I need to double check to see if he's still doing that. He may not be this year, but yeah. So there is your football schedule. All in all, very good. We'll see. Yeah, that the CU game is certainly going to be on ESPN or Fox. And then Nevada, right, will probably be on Fox or CBS Sports. It just depends on how good both those teams are at the end of the season. Nevada looks like they're going to be pretty terrible yet again. And the jury is out on us, of course. So who knows?
Yeah.
So, yeah, any other thoughts on the football schedule that I'm sure everybody's already seen by now? But overall, I think it's, wonderful.
I like no Friday, and I do like that they put Air Force. Like everybody talks about hunting season, elk season starts generally October 15th is a
Okay.
good time. So you're getting the crowds where people are like, all right, well, elk season is almost over. I'm going to go to Border War. So they did it right where they're not competing against hunting season in Wyoming for elk. So good on them for that. So smart moves however they did that.
All right. Very good. So, yeah. Football schedule. And I guess, let's see, I had my notes here. I think that's all we had until we get to some position previews, which I'm excited to do as well. So here's kind of how I'm tackling these, Shea. I don't know if I had this discussion with you or Brad. I think it was Brad, but we didn't get a depth chart or anything, which is fine. But we did get extensive breakdowns from Ryan Thorburn and his Pokes Insider. And so I'm using those because I'm saying if he's writing it, there's a 99.9% chance that he got what to say about who from Jay Sabell himself, right? So
yeah,
the university's putting out there what they want us to hear and what they want us to see, and it's good. We know that it's coming from a good source. It's well written, and we can analyze it. So let's do it.
All right.
I could bring it up if you want, or I just got the notes.
Yeah, we should do the notes here. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we'll start offensive line. Since I knew you were going to be on, I know you are the best person I know who really right. There's there's a book, right, and it's about how to watch football, and to really watch football, you don't watch the football, and I know that's what you kind of focus on. You really focus on watching the line. So let's see what you think about this reshuffled offensive line, and then some of the other names that they mentioned. So everyone, couple position changes that have been really key here. Jack Walsh is moving from right guard to center. And then Caden Barnett is going from right tackle to where he really struggled at times last year to right guard. So let's just start there with your two position changes to the interior of the line.
Wyoming did this, a couple of years ago, and it worked out well where they moved. Chase Roulier was a right guard, if everybody remembers correctly. He moved to center.
Yeah.
And then they had the Ryan Cummings, who was a right tackle, and he struggled mightily out there sometimes. Not every game, but he had his struggles. He moved him inside, and Wyoming's running game looked a little bit better. And pass protection was a little bit because he was a good player. So I was interested to see, because after the Idaho game, I was pretty down on the offensive line where I watched the tackles just fall over. They were just getting speed rushed.
Yeah.
You're like, what are we doing out here? Move your feet, take a step back. It's like the game. It was weird to see guys like Caden. I mean, not Jack. Jack has been like a really good guy to watch on the offensive line. Just struggle. Like the game, like they were playing like true freshmen. I was like, what is going on out here? And I think they cleaned it up later in the year. I thought the offensive line looked really even patchworked. It didn't matter who they were plugging in.
A lot of injuries last year.
I thought they looked okay for even the injuries. Whatever Jeff was saying in the room and teaching the kids, they're providing enough time for the ball to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you're looking for. And I know the offensive line takes that was a sack. Well, if Evan and Caden are holding the ball for 15 seconds, that's not the offensive line's fault. if your running backs are dancing in the backfield,
not hitting wide open holes. Yeah, which Hill
that's
talked a lot about last season.
It's not the offensive line's fault, and sometimes the hole's just not going to open up where you want it, but it's still going to open. And if your guy doesn't have the vision to see it, then it doesn't matter. It sounds like Jack was pretty frustrated last year, and this maybe goes back to the team captain stuff that Coach Savell talked about. Is you had team captains last year, and I think the only one who was vocal was Bertinoli. Even when he was hurt, like when Jordan was on the field, you're like, he's giving it his all. But the other team captains, you're like, I don't know. This is like a yo-yo out here. Or, and I thought Tuifono was a great center when he wanted to be. And maybe we need that fire. Because the center is essentially he's the one leading the team. It's not the quarterback. It all starts with Jack Walsh. And maybe we just need a guy like that has a huge chip on his shoulder. And he's like, hey, this is my field. And then you need the field general who's going to be very aggressive with his players and then against the opposing team.
Yeah, no, well said. So let me just bring this up here. Elsewhere, according to this notes, you're going to have Wes Keene at left guard. Yeah. Rex Johnson is going to be your right tackle. And then so really the only open job is left tackle, where you're going to have Jake Davies and Nathan Geiger once again battling. Now, they did do the same thing last fall. I do believe, was it Geiger won the competition and then got hurt in game 1, out for the year. Davies came in, looked shaky at first, but I think settled down as the year went along.
Not as jumpy.
So those two will battle it out for that left tackle spot in the starting. And then they give a list of some players who are going to be in the mix.
Okay.
They mention Giovanni Panozzo and Braylon Jenkins, 2 redshirt freshmen who are going to be competing to be in the rotation. You got 2 sophomores who were hurt last year, and Brant Rice, and then Quinn Grovestein-Matchey, who I think he was in the tackle conversation as well and got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a third what happened to Alex Kahn?
He was not listed in this article. I don't think he transferred. You might look it up. I think he might have left.
Okay. Maybe. I mean,
I could look it up really quick here. I do have the roster up. While that's loading, I'll just tell you here. Then the rest, and then they mention that we do have a JUCO tackle coming in, and Josiah, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, Pataya, who is a really interesting story. He was at a JUCO in California. I forget which one, like Lakeside or something. He was a volleyball player, and the football team just had tons of injuries, and they got him to play football. Never played football in his life. Becomes an all-conference JUCO left tackle as a volleyball player. So you got to think
it's very athletic
and have good feet. Yeah, so he's coming into the mix. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does, knowing that he's only played 1 year of football.
You could, what's funny is J Mike at tight end was 1 year of football.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think if guys can just pick it up, I mean, tackle is probably a hard position between them and center where you're trying to understand what's coming, but
I don't know why you can't sort this alphabetically. I don't understand this website sometimes. Do you?
I've hit up Riot a couple times. I was like, dude, you guys need to do some work on your website. Like how you look at NIL, it's not good.
Bad. So you can't even sort it by position or anything anymore. It's just random.
Yeah, you'd have to go numerical. You just have to go to down to the 70s.
You can't even do that now. It's not. Geez. You have just list, grid, cards, and then I don't even know how it's sorted. I have no idea. Maybe by number, but they don't have the numbers up. Oh, there it is by number. Okay. So you can only sort it by number. I have no idea what this guy's number is.
70s. It's
going to be an offensive lineman's number. Let's see. I think he's not on the team anymore. Would be my guess.
I think he was hurt, so maybe
he got hurt last year, and I think he left. No, he's still around. He is number 75, Alex Kahn, not listed in the preview. So that tells me something, right?
Yeah.
Not even mentioned. So there we go. So there is your offensive line. I think it will be an improved group. A lot of the guys are coming back, right? The big thing is the pass protection, but then also maybe a little better in the running game, but a lot of that probably was on the running backs. So, but that's Wyoming's key this year is we have to be able to run the ball. And last year was our worst running year in the 10 years of the Craig Bowl era.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why we lost a lot of games last year is because we couldn't do what we've done for 10 years. And that was to run the ball.
Yeah. Sounds like they brought in some more talent because the guys that left the running back position still haven't signed to teams. So minus Harrison. So,
and we'll get to the running backs at some point here soon. Next up on our list today is tight end. Very similar to the offensive line, of course, in our system. A lot of guys are at the block. And let me get this teed up here. So, of course, the tight end conversation begins and ends with John Michael Gillenborg, who missed the first 3 games of last year with an ankle injury, still ended up being pretty productive. But I think that we really have to find a way to get more out of him. And let me get this shared up on the screen. I was looking at some stats today, Shea.
All right.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can blow this up. There we go. So this is your Mountain West reception leaders. And really what I'm focused on here is receptions per game. This is what I'm going to be completely focused on this year. Gillenborg at 3.3. So let me highlight this. There's his line, 3.3 catches per game. Now, the big thing that I was excited about Savell, when he first got the job, he said, we're going to identify our top 3 playmakers, and we're just going to get them the ball. Well, they didn't do that last year. Gillenborg needs to be getting, I would say, at least 5 to 6 receptions a game.
Yeah, like Trey McBride at CSU.
Yeah.
Just
so if you look
feed him the rock.
The Mountain West leaders, it's like 8 and 6, right? So 6 would put him among the best in the Mountain West. I did look at nationally tight ends, and your like best tight ends in the country were getting like 7, 8, 9 catches per game because they're just matchup nightmares. And I think we bare minimum have to get Gillenborg to the 5 and 6 range, but it should be more if he's healthy, right? Let's just hope he's healthy, and we just need to design. And he's versatile, right? You could do short stuff. Last year, they loved running seam routes with him. A lot of deep stuff down the sideline too. But maybe you do a little more of the underneath stuff to where he can catch it, and then he's big, he can run. So I think that's really another key on offense is we've got 1 year left of this guy. You keep saying he's an NFL prospect. Well, let's treat him like one and let's get him the ball.
Yeah, and it's going to be up to the wide receivers because if the over the top threat is there on the outside, J Mike is going to be running wild through the middle of the field.
Point. And I was going to bring that up too. Right? If the offense is better and we have our running game working, and we actually have wide receivers who are now they're actually admitting out loud that they were not coached under the previous coach. Right? Which we all knew. We knew this. Yeah. But we've got beat writers and players and coaches saying this now, saying that, they weren't being coached, which we knew, of course. So, you get some wide receivers who can run good routes, get open. That's going to make a lot more space for Gillenborg to be able to do what I want him to do, and that's catch 5, 6 balls a game. So, let's hope that Javon Bonite has developed these wide receivers and they can kind of carry their load and make defenses not be able to zoom in on Gillenborg and double team him every down.
Yeah, you take away the safety that can over top him, and then he's matched up with some linebacker that's slow as shit,
Exactly.
Good luck.
Yep.
So
So that's the key there. All right. Next up, the next player mentioned in the tight end article is one Evan Svoboda, our starting quarterback turned tight end. I made my thoughts very clear on this, and I probably will again for those of you who missed it. But your thoughts, Shea? They list Svoboda second. Now they don't say anything about like what he could actually do, and I don't remember seeing much written about him looking like an actual tight end. But I mean, what do you think about this position change?
well, it kind of reminds me he had the same accuracy that Sean Chambers had at times. And I thought Sean Chambers would have been an excellent tight end. And you
Chambers
have
is a better athlete.
yeah, you have quarterbacks that do it all the time, guys that make that change. Maybe he's better. He's a big body that helps block too. I mean, he's
Maybe
massive.
he should be able to block. You would think, yeah, but we've never seen it.
Yeah, I don't like his name being, and this is nothing against Evan, listed number 2 when you have that kid Justin Erb last year who was all over the field.
Yeah.
More of a utility guy of like, I'm going to be on special teams, and when it's my turn to block, I'm just going to run people. I don't care. I'm just going to run people over.
Yeah, we'll get to
You
him.
know,
He's on the list for sure.
But if Evan has that mentality, I think Evan could be really good because I think the Schoenfeld kid is a good receiver too. So Evan's going to have to catch the ball, and he's going to have to be able to block. So I don't know what his route running looks like because a straight line, he's great, but I've never seen him make a move. So
Yep. So no, we're in the same spot. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, to me, his comparison is Tim Tebow, right? Same style quarterback. He's probably a little better passer than Tebow, but those two guys, you get them in a straight line running, you're not going to catch them. But once they have to move their hips and make someone miss, it ain't happening.
Well, I guess moving the hips is big when you're running routes. So I don't know what he looks like route running, but you know, Shannon Moore was a really good tight end at ECU, and you have Bo Knight, and I guess whatever work he puts in the offseason, it's on Evan. I know he wants to win, so this is on Evan to be a good tight end. This isn't on anybody else. He's got the coaches there to help him be a good receiver.
Yeah. I'll be really interested to see how it works. I hope it works, right? Because he works hard. He's been through a lot. I understand that. But at the same time, right, Sauvel's got to win games or he's out the door.
Yeah.
So he already threw away last season when it was clear to everybody but him that his quarterback wasn't cutting it. So don't make the same mistake twice is all I'm going to say. Although you're right, if they force him at tight end, it's not going to derail the offense. But you get
but if he's an actual weapon, then great.
Yeah.
Let's
see what it looks like.
So.
And we'll have a couple games to figure it out, right? Akron and Northern Iowa are soft landing spots for that.
Yeah. They can be confidence games for guys like Evan to be like, I can do this. And confidence, I think, after he got murdered in Arizona State the first 3 series, he's getting hit because his offensive line couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I think confidence plays a big deal. So he gets, confidence 1 to 2 catches, maybe some big blocks on run. That's all you're looking for. We don't want him. We don't need him to be J. Mike or these other guys. We need him to be Evan Svoboda, and if his thing is 2 catches a game for 20 yards and some monster blocks, then that's what we need. So,
all right, you already mentioned some of the other guys they mentioned. Second mentioned on the list was Isaac Schoenfeld, who, he's played a handful over the years, but not really made an impact. So we'll see there. Jake Wilson is another young guy that they're high on. So we'll see what that looks like. But the big one you mentioned, Justin Erb,
I
He
love that
was a
kid.
walk-on. He was awarded a scholarship during the spring, which I love to see. That dude can block.
And tackle.
Yeah. I mean, he just blows people up. I mean, you
Yeah.
go see some of those highlights of him, he just lights people up. He's beautiful blocking tight end.
He can catch. I think he had run some routes, but I don't want Wyoming, and this used to piss me off under Bowl. I knew what play was coming based on the personnel.
Yeah.
Now, if you know Herb and Savota are at tight end, is this going to be a run?
Fun. Yeah.
Or do they have enough receiving ability to, hey, generally we 80% of the time we run out of this formation, but hey, at this 20%, I'm going to send Herb down the seam and go over top of your safety. I don't want Wyoming get stuck in this personnel because I love watching Herb play. He plays so hard.
Yeah.
He plays like every game. Every play is his last play. Even on special teams, you're like, Jesus, this guy's everywhere.
Well, that's a walk-on. That's the walk-on mentality, right?
Yeah. So I know he played a year at JUCO in Iowa. So, good for, Justin. And he's a guy I'll watch, because he clearly wants to be out there, where last year it seems like some players didn't want to be on the field. So,
And then they mentioned another Tyler Hampton. Not too familiar with him.
Might be a freshman
as another guy. And then they mentioned the two incoming tight end freshmen who will be here in the summer. Kyle Frent, who I think is out of Minnesota. And then some guy named Landon Pace, who might have a fairly famous father.
That's two famous people now that have signed with Wyoming. You got Tim
yeah.
Hasselback's kid, and you got Orlando Pace's kid. So I wonder if Orlando will show up. What a guy to have in your room to talk to.
That would be great, wouldn't it? To have him
you're outside of your line.
The first game to talk to that O-line.
Yeah.
Man. I bet he'll be
free
there. Yeah.
I mean, he lives in Denver still, right?
Oh, does he?
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if he'll make he'd be like one of those fun guys just to kind of show up, and
I think they live in Ohio or wherever he went to school.
Oh.
Landon Pace did. Let's see if we can look that up really quick. What number do you think he is?
It's a tight end?
Yeah, let's see if I can find him. He might not even be on the list yet.
88?
Is that who he is? I don't know. Let's go this way. I don't see him. I think they list him on the bottom, some of these new guys.
Oh, because
they do. Yeah, they don't have a number yet. So, yeah, French from Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then Pace, where is he? Is from St. Louis. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean,
6'3", 240 too for Pace.
That's a big boy for a freshman.
That is a tight end ready body, right?
I mean, hopefully they're right. I think their plan is to probably redshirt.
I'm sure.
Redshirt him, but if you have a kid coming in at 6'3", 240, and he's already probably on campus.
Probably.
So he'll put on some weight, or he'll change his body composition being in a D1 room. So
yeah, I remember watching a bit of his film, his high school stuff, and yeah, pretty impressive. So we'll see. So yeah, so there's the tight end room. Hopefully, again, just why we have a talent like Gillenborg, let's use it as much as we can.
Yep.
All right. Then I wanted to talk some special teams.
Oh yeah, we got a lot to talk here.
So let me bring this one up. If I can find it, here he is. All right, so again, they haven't written about this, but they've written enough. So that's going to be your place kicker there. Eric Sandvik. He is a redshirt sophomore from Steamboat Springs. He's been a walk-on. I don't know if they've given him a scholarship. I'd imagine they will. Kind of came out of nowhere, right? You don't really hear about backup kickers, but apparently he really impressed Savell in the spring, and they did like a lot of high pressure situations. And I remember like he was like kicking 60-yard kicks
Yeah, I think he's got a. You know, what it reminds me of is Derek Yossi.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a. I think he was because Sandvik kicked like 3 field goals in high school.
Yeah, not a
Like
lot
he
of
wasn't
experience.
prolific, so I think he was a soccer player like Yossi was, where he's like, I just got this huge leg. Now I just need to figure out how to control it.
Yeah. So that is the question, right? He's got a big leg, but how accurate is it? They must really like him because they didn't bring in anybody. So, I mean, I don't know, right? First time kickers, you never know.
I mean,
But
we didn't know about Hoyland, and it showed up on Reno
that's true.
for us. So
That's true. So we'll see. So hopefully he holds up under pressure. And then again, we'll have to just wait and see in the fall to see who else is sticking around as the kicker in case he doesn't pan out. But he's going to have a pretty long leash, would be my guess, based off his performance in spring.
yeah,
So that's Sandvik there. And then, yeah, see, it resets. This side is just really bad. Then let's talk about our punter. We have a new punter, a JUCO punter, who I'm pretty excited about as well. Where is
yeah,
he?
he had some weird. His path is pretty weird.
Where did he go? Oh, see, it's jumped on me. His last name begins with a B, I thought. Where did he go? Oh, my goodness. This is terrible. All right, let's see. There he is. Bart Edmiston from Mississippi. Went to a JUCO in Mississippi, so here we'll give it so you can see. 6 foot, 200 pounds, 44.7 yards per kick in JUCO, which is at sea level.
Yeah, Ocean
Which
Springs
is
is at sea level.
pretty dang good, man. 45 of his 89 punts inside the 20, and then 28 punts of 50 yards or more at sea level. I think this kid's going to be a weapon. And then I didn't see this until I read this today. His father was a place kicker for the national champion Florida Gators in 96.
I think this kid signed with Mississippi State.
I think
as
he
well.
did out of high school. Yep.
Yeah,
And
but they
then
had a punter or
and then something
something
happened and he ended up at this JUCO and now we got him. So I couldn't find any film of this kid. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of JUCO punting film out there.
Yeah.
But
I wonder
I mean,
how they
stat-wise,
found him.
that is a good question. Yeah, how did they? Probably just on Huddle or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't know if he had any relation. Like if somebody on the coaching staff randomly knew, like somebody
Has some kind of Mississippi connection. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool, and he's a big boy. I mean, the punter last year, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be great, and then I was like, this guy's can't get it
Yeah.
inside the 20. Nothing pissed me off more than you're punting and you're standing on your own 40 and the ball lands at the 22. I'm like, if you're gonna make them if they're gonna start at the 20, the ball better be going in the end zone, not you kicking it 30 yards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was disappointing. Yeah, I thought we had to. So hopefully this guy does good as well. And right with the whole scholarship numbers up in the air and the roster limits up in the air, the special teams is going to be really interesting these next couple of years to see.
they signed a long snapper too, like a 5-star long snapper.
Oh yeah, the walk on. Yep, they got a
Yeah.
walk on snapper who's pretty well regarded. Yep.
So I mean, I wonder who's going to be the holder for field goals.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd imagine maybe the new JUCO backup Sims, or maybe Drube might be good at that. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use up any of his 4 games as a as a holder.
Yeah.
He's redshirting, but I could imagine maybe Sims might be the holder.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's no award for it, and I thought Nick Spohr was going to win it a couple of years ago with Cooper Roth, but ended up not winning it, which I was kind of disappointed. So
yeah, so the kicking game will be big. They went in house with Sandvik and then found Edmiston, who I think, right, Wyoming shouldn't have any problems finding kickers. There should be people bending down the door to kick at 7,000 feet, even with the wind.
That cracks me up is
the wind.
Yeah, because Colorado State finds punters year in, year out. And then the last like punter I was like, this guy's a weapon was JD Wallum.
Yeah.
That long, maybe Donovan. I mean, it's been a while since Wyoming's had a punter that was a true threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll do some research for that.
Yeah,
pull up those stats someday and figure that out. So yeah, hopefully that puts an end to that. But there we go. So we took a look at the O-line, the tight ends, and the kickers. And we'll break down more throughout June and July. Because as I said, it'll be soon enough. It'll be fall camp will be here. And I don't know when it's opening. I mean, we're opening. What was the schedule again? It's August 28th. So I'm guessing like late July is when camp will open, right? Don't you get 4 weeks?
Yeah. Everybody gets, I think it's 4 weeks because that's considered a week 0 game, I think. Is it?
No, because it's that Thursday of opening.
Then my guess they're going to start
maybe August 1st.
August 4th, the 1st or the 4th.
Yeah, so soon here.
I mean, I like the practices being open and stuff like that. I thought that was a awesome move by Jay. I didn't think every practice had to be open. I just really missed maybe being selfish because growing up, Tiller had open practices. Like you could just go watch. Glenn had open practices. You could just go watch. And it was a way, I think, to probably connect with the team. And Bull's like, well, this is my way or the highway. And you're like, okay, well,
yeah,
I still want to experience something. So, and, kudos to whoever got the TV schedule the way it was, because now people don't have to come for a Friday night. They don't have to stay 2 nights. They can just plan for a 1-night stay with those type of kickoff times.
Mm-hmm.
Where people can leave on a Saturday morning and still enjoy a tailgate, and they don't have to leave at 5 a.m.
Yeah, for sure.
To do that. So kudos to the university for working that out with CBS or the conference. I don't know how it works, but whoever did, thank you. It's good kickoff times for out here. So that's what I look forward to. And I'm sure the Hawaii game will be at midnight for me. So I probably won't watch it, but
yes, that will be a late one for everybody.
Yeah, Jay has, I think, been pretty open about the failures of last year. And, you've seen people already off the team already. So I think there's probably some tighter leashes. You had that kid from Youngstown State that didn't even see spring practice.
Yeah.
So my assumption, he got kicked off the team. And he also cleaned house, I think, with some players that we thought were great, but we don't see the whole thing. They might have been great on the field, but inside the locker room, they weren't the teammates to have. So I do like the coaches they brought in and got rid of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a new defensive tackles, I think, had an immense amount of talent. They did not play very well last year. So it's nice that they got a new coach there. And then obviously wide receiver coach and the quarterback coach. I'm excited to kind of see how that plays I think Caden's already a really good quarterback. I think Caden's really good, but just kind of cleaning up some stuff. So
yeah, that's really good. I'm going to remember that. I want to write that down now before I forget, because I forget that I heard that guy.
Yeah, just some random guy, but
I'm going to talk to him for sure. He was like an OC at like a Division III school or something.
Yeah, but he probably sees the game so much differently than people that are way talented. And he's like, okay, Caden.
Yeah, and I'm not saying
you're a great quarterback.
A D3. Yeah. I'm just saying that I think it's great that we're going to have a dedicated quarterback coach. So when the quarterback comes to the sideline, they're not on the headset talking to the OC. They still will do that, of course, but they'll have a dedicated coach saying, hey, tell me what you're seeing out there. Why did you do A when B was open? type of
Yeah,
things.
so that's one of my. I know everybody loves the Javon Bonite hire, but that can't be overlooked. A hire like that. So I
Yeah,
know
let me
some
see.
people.
He's on here really quick.
I mentioned him, and somebody's like, he played Division III, and I was like, dude, nobody cares.
Yeah,
Because
it
my
doesn't
guess,
matter.
he can see the game.
Let's see if they got him listed. They should, right? His name is. Where is he? Oh, I don't see him.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it might be this guy. Hold on. He might be a graduate assistant. Yeah. So they brought him in as a graduate assistant, but I know that he said he's coming in to coach quarterbacks. So his name is
Yeah.
Bryce Missy, and
Yep.
he's technically a GA. Came from Whitworth University, was their OC and QB coach. They went 10-2 and made it to the second round of the NCAA Division III playoffs. He played quarterback for Pacific Lutheran University.
Okay.
Oh, maybe not. Hold on. Did he? Oh, no, sorry. That's where he coached. He played quarterback at Montana State University Northern, which is an NAIA school. But still, it doesn't matter, right? Football's football. So, yeah. So, yeah, I thought he was like a full-time coach, but he's not. He's technically a GA.
Which is weird, but I mean, it's great to have a GA that's not a guy that's just coming off his playing career. This guy has seen both
which would be
sides of
another
the
one we added. Cameron Murray, former Poke, is a GA on the defensive side of the ball, which is pretty interesting because he transferred from Wyoming and then is now back.
Yeah. None of the transfers really landed anywhere.
So, yeah, so maybe we'll kind of take a look at the coaches and stuff. But yeah, that's a guy actually I'm going to try to talk to.
I would just like to hear his story.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's great. So we'll do that. By now, I'm sure most of you have seen Brian's interview with Sundance Wicks, which was most excellent. Brian's planning more basketball interviews this summer. So we're working in the university there. I am on the verge of scheduling an interview with a former Wyoming football player who's going to be a blast to talk to again. We'll announce that once I get that finalized. And we're just going to try to be working on interviews. But before we leave, Shea, I know you wanted to mention a little something about, I guess, wrestling and camp season.
Yeah, we got actually camp starts next week. Some guys were in action recently. Christian Carroll was an incoming freshman, Gunnar Henry and David Sands were wrestling. Christian Carroll got hurt. I nearly cried when I saw it happen, but he finished the tournament not the way he wanted. So hopefully his injury is not too bad. And they start camp season June 10th. And make sure you donate. I talked to Coach Branch about it. As if you donate to the RTC, they can use that as NIL as well, and everything's tax free. So,
and what's the RTC?
What do they call them? Regional training centers. That's how they were before NIL. That's how they were funneling money to wrestlers at bigger programs, not a program like Wyoming. And then just so you know, Brad and Brian have been bullying me to get interviews with some of the wrestling coaches. So that's my goal this summer.
Yes.
Kind of build some stuff around. I think Wyoming's going to be really good. They just had 2 signees that I know people in the state of Wyoming are excited about. Sefton Douglas from Lyman, and Cody Phelps is a transfer from Michigan State, but is from Pinedale. So
yeah,
Wyoming has some unknowns at 25 and 33, but 41 to heavyweight is going to be a stacked team if they can keep it together. So we'll have to get some interviews. Maybe I'll try to get some wrestlers interviewed.
Yeah.
I know guys like Joey and Christian get interviewed a lot, and Christian Carroll's got some interviews out there. So make sure you go watch him because he talks about NIL and promises made and promises not kept at former schools, which was very interesting to hear. So maybe I'll get some like the lower guys or maybe some lesser interviewed guys for the for the program, just to kind of get their name out there as well. So
yeah, man. Well, we look forward to that. So yeah, we're really going to try to focus on interviews here in summer before football season ramps up. So yeah, I'm working on a bunch. Should have the former Wyoming football player set up soon, and we'll announce that. As I said, Brian's working on more coaching staff of the basketball team. Shea will get a wrestling coach, or we'll fire him from the show. And yeah, so there we go.
So
all right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us yet again for another WyoNation Roundup. Great to talk some Wyoming athletics. And we'll probably try to do weekly with our cast of characters here between now and football season. So stay tuned for the announcements. Thanks for always as watching, and we'll talk soon.